So think about that. There's a war on family businesses, and it isn't just about the BLM. It's also Obama's affordable health care, putting millions of men out of work, businesses out of work, women out of work, requiring them to buy insurance that they don't need, or canceling their policy if they can't afford a Cadillac policy, forcing young men who are not married to buy maternity insurance, for example. There are many ways that the government uses regulations and codes that are not passed by their elected representatives. Obama is changing Obamacare. We've got the BLM writing the laws and sending down hired mercenaries to enforce this, people who do not have law enforcement credentials. This is a large problem. Cliven Bundy has shown us how to do this, how to stand up, stand firm, stand together. We can stand these people down. We can win this war. We saw the fear in their eyes. We saw the fear of the sheriff. We saw the fear of the BLM agents. We can win this war. David Knight for Infowars.com.
I'm going to do everything I can to try to stop a civil war. I'm going to do everything I can to try to bring races and religions together for freedom. I'm going to do everything I can to try to build solidarity along the Bill of Rights and Constitution and due process and justice for our children's future. Because the older I get, I realize that I just grew up thinking everybody was honorable. I just grew up thinking everybody shook hands and did what they said they'd do. I grew up thinking everybody was like my daddy and like my mommy. And then I later learned a lot of people aren't like that. And it's time for those of us that come from honorable backgrounds and honorable families, or people that have come from dishonorable families but have themselves transcended it, to realize that it's up to us to take this world back. It's a very, very special time to be alive. And the victory that you saw at that event, there's going to be more events like that as people push back as they see victory. And the feds, if they miscalculate and start shooting people at another Lexington or Concord, are going to set the revolution off in our favor, which I don't even want that to happen, because it's like A, B, or C. A is fix the country peaceably in a velvet revolution of ideas. B is they start the revolution with the moral low ground, and we win and get the country back very quickly with minimal loss of blood. And Friday, when we got the documents that Harry Reid with the Chinese Communist government was taking over 120-something mile swath starting at Bundy's Ranch, I literally was higher than a kite all day. I mean, I'm talking high, ladies and gentlemen, because I love freedom. And I know these globalists want to hurt humanity. We're going to kick their ass together. We are going to stop them. That's all I want. And they've told us that we can't beat them. We're going to beat them. Believing we can beat them is a secret to it. And to see those people with the feds with their guns trained on them saying, we will shoot you, keeping their guns at their side and marching saying, go ahead and shoot us. And when it does, we're going to shoot back, but only after you pull the trigger first. It was literally Lexington and Concord Part 2, but the globalists backed off this time. And let me tell you something, they backed off because they're smart, and they know humanity's got the power. And they know in the breast of every man, woman, and child out there beats that idea of liberty. It is such a small cadre of evil people that want to control our civilization. They're going to regroup. They're going to try other stuff. But here's the deal. Americans haven't been slaves because we're cowards. We've been slaves because we've been in a trance, asleep. But let me tell you something. That spell's breaking. And nothing on earth is going to stop it. This is so exciting. And it's a great testament to the new media that has supplanted the enemy media.
And I think it is, a great teaching tool, but also a great stealing, to steal you up kind of an experience. It cuts, separates the wheat from the chaff. Who's going to show up? Who's not going to show up? Who has the will to be here? And that's what we saw. We saw a lot of good people respond. And there's some folks who should have been here, and they're probably going to be kicking themselves. Well, they'll have a chance probably real soon, because we anticipate that this is not over, and they're going to be back. In fact, one of the Bundy sons, I did an interview with him yesterday while he was still on horseback, getting ready to go and get the cattle back, and he said, yeah, we're not going to, we know this is not over. They'll be back, but we'll be back too. You know, we're here. We're not going anywhere. And I think what will happen next time is that the government response will be even more severe, but then so will the response of the people. And so our strategy, as it's always been, has been to tear down the barrier of separation between the people and their state, local and state officials, and get the local and state officials to do their job. And that's the big lesson here. If the sheriff had done his job from the very beginning, this wouldn't have been happening in the first place. Even before that, if the judges had done their job and actually honored their oath to defend the Constitution, then you wouldn't need a sheriff to step in. But every step along the way, somebody who was oath sworn, whether the judges or the sheriff or the governor, should have stepped in. It shouldn't take we the people to prompt them to do their duty, but sometimes it does.
Well, you know, I know. What are your plans, if you don't mind, for the next 24 to 36 hours? I think Chuck Baldwin, I believe, is flying down there.
Pastor Baldwin's flying in tomorrow because we had already scheduled, even before we knew the outcome was going to be so good, we had already scheduled a big press conference for tomorrow at 1 p.m. That's still going to happen. So tomorrow, Monday at 1 p.m., there'll be a large press conference with all of the delegates, all of the state legislators who are coming in. And Pastor Baldwin's going to be here. He'll do the opening prayer for the press conference, and we're just bringing together a gathering of leadership to make a stand and make it very public that, look, we, the Westerners, the state and local officials who are responsible for defending the people, take our obligations seriously, and we're here, and we're going to be here again if we need to be. And this is a Western fight. We're combined and organized together because we know it's not just in Nevada, it's all over the West. And so if they're going to come attack the Bundys and attack Nevadans, they'll know that defending them will be people from all over the West, including state legislators. This is an ongoing fight. So I also encourage you to get ready, prepare yourselves, and get geared up and get your logistics squared away to be here next week. Because I think what's going to happen is I haven't got a crystal ball, but my suspicion is they're going to go regroup and come back even more. They're going to double down, and so we need to be ready to do the same thing. So we'll need a lot more folks here. The more eyes on them, the better. The more pressure, the more public officials that stand up. So if you're in the West, if you have a state senator or a representative who has not spoken out, you have to ask them why. Why not? They need to at least speak out, and we're going to be organizing a coalition of Western state legislators. Now, we're not sure how it's going to look, whether it'll be resolutions they all sign, committees of correspondence. We're going to figure that out tomorrow. We're going to meet and talk about that. But we're going to be having a united effort across the West, and you should put pressure on your rep to be there, to be part of it. And the same goes for your sheriff. The sheriffs have got to stand up and start doing their job. If a sheriff does his job and interposes between an unconstitutional action of the national government and defends his people, it gives them a safe harbor, someplace where they can feel they can have shelter and protection. If he doesn't do that, then they feel like they have no protection and they have to resort to self-defense. And so then you're much more likely to see violence. Much better to have your officials stand up and your sheriff stand up. That gives the bad guys fits. How do they deal with a strong sheriff standing up with the people behind him? It's very difficult for them. So make it difficult. Don't make it easy on them. You involve your sheriffs. So that's what I want to say.